Quickie Wednesday, yeah, Quickie Wednesday.
What's up, guys, and welcome to my Quickie Wednesday review for Spider-Man 3. This is the final film in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, and it stars Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man and James Franco and Kirsten Dunst as Harry Osborn and Mary Jane Watson. We also had Thomas Hayden Church in this as the Sandman and Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, Venom. Bryce Dallas Howard also joins the cast as Gwen Stacy. This is a packed movie. People love this movie. People hate this movie. People don't like this movie. There's probably a lot more dislike than like from everything that I hear about it when anybody ever mentions it. So after rewatching this movie, I went in with a complete open lens. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to start from scratch. And I'm just going to watch this movie and see how I feel about it, acting like I've never seen it before, and just going in, like I said, from scratch. And I'm not going to say this is a bad movie. Shoot me. I don't think Spider-Man 3 is a bad film. I don't think Spider-Man 3 is a very good film. I just think Spider-Man 3 is a mediocre film. But, I mean, it's mediocre, and it's also okay. That's what I would say about Spider-Man 3. Some of the things that I've really noticed that weren't as good as the last film. We have a new composer, Christopher Young, who also created a good score for this movie, but it definitely doesn't feel like a Danny Elfman score. He does heavily rely on the Danny Elfman themes, but I mean, overall the score is just not as good as the first two Spider-Man films, even though it is an okay score. Also, the visual effects in this, I don't know what happened, but a lot of the effects don't look as good as they should. But when Spider-Man is swinging through the city and, you know, certain things with the Sandman, it does look good. Some of the effects in the movie do look good. I don't think there's bad effects in this film, but I just think that there's some subpar effects in this film. And I do think the movie's jumbled. There's a lot going on in this film. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of stories to wrap up. And in that, you know, with that being said, there's just not a lot of time for a lot of things because there's just so much going on. I think if you cut Eddie Brock and Gwen Stacy from this movie completely, the film probably would have been better. Because Venom just feels so rushed in this movie, and I definitely prefer the Topher, or the Eddie, what's his name, Tom Hardy, the Tom Hardy portrayal as Venom. I prefer that over the Topher Grace portrayal any day. I think that, you know, in this, Venom really doesn't have a personality. You know, Venom isn't used to his full potential, so it is a shame. And with the Sandman, I feel like halfway through the film, when you get that sequence with the black suited Spider-Man and Venom in the underground caverns, or whatever you want to call it, after that, they really have nothing to do with his character. You know, I mean, it's a shame, really. And then the end of the film, the final climax of the movie, it's entertaining, but it's not as impactful as, say, the end of Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2. I think that the acting is very good. I think Tobey Maguire is good. I think Mary Jane Watson, I think Kirsten Dunst is great in the movie. And I think Harry Osborn, you know, in the film, he's fine. I think in certain scenes, James Franco really shines, but I think the memory loss aspect of this film, when they take away Harry Osborn's memory, I think that was a really lazy storytelling way to go. And in that, when he loses his memory, he becomes very, very bubbly, and he becomes a very giddy person. And I don't think he was ever really like that. I think it really made him just really, like I said, really bubbly. Until he like a little goofy, actually. And then when he actually finds out, you know, his past comes back to him, you know, his story sort of gets back on track. But I also thought that it was very random to where, towards the end of the film, how his butler just randomly says, you know, I've seen things in this house, and, you know, your father was killed by his own glider. You know, I'm thinking, that was very random. Why did you wait to tell him now? You know, I mean, that bugged me quite a bit. Yeah, I'm going to wait until your face is half destroyed to tell you, you know, that you're fighting your friend for no reason. So that was another thing that kind of bugged me. And also the dance sequence. The infamous jazz club sequence. I just don't think it belongs. I don't think it fits. You could have had that scene without him dancing around the tables like a nutcase. And also, when he becomes the black-suited Spider-Man, like I said, get rid of Venom from this movie, get rid of the symbiote. This would have made for a better film. Because I don't understand why he has to change his hairdo. Like, he's like, oh, I'm going to change my hairdo because now I look like a bad guy on the edge. You know, it didn't really make sense. You know, I mean, there's no reason for it. And also when he's walking down the street and the music is playing, James Brown or whatever music is playing, and he's doing his jig. You know, it's goofy. And this movie does have cheese. There's a lot of cheese in this movie, just like there was cheese in Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2. The cheese is also in this movie. But the good things about this movie, as I mentioned about the performances, I think Sam Raimi is directing this movie. I mean, you could tell this movie has a heart and it has a soul, but it's buried and it's scattered through a lot that's going on. I think the word to describe this movie is messy. Spider-Man 3 is a messy movie. But I still like it because I see what they were going for here. I see what Sam Raimi was trying to do before the studio sort of jumped down his throat. And sort of forced him to put certain things in the film. I think the Sandman character could have been a lot better if expanded more, because at the end of the film, what happens with that? You know? I mean, the whole aspect with Uncle Ben and how we realized that Flint Marko is actually the guy that killed Uncle Ben, I was really into that. And I think that is one of the things that really works in this movie, and one of the emotional hooks that really works in this movie is that whole Flint Marko, Uncle Ben storyline. But at the end of the film, after Peter Parker says, "I forgive you," to Flint, he just fades away into the sand and floats off into the sky. And his daughter is still sick. He says, I was doing it for my daughter. So I don't understand, what is he going to do? I mean, is he going to continue to rob places? I mean, his daughter is still sick and he still needs money for her. So it didn't really make sense. That story was just kind of left open. So we'll never know what's to happen with that. So that's kind of a shame. And I think every scene with Aunt May in the movie is great. And she's phenomenal, and I love every second she's in. But like I said, other than that, there's kind of unnecessary drama going on with Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane. Like I said, cut out Gwen Stacy, cut out the symbiote, cut out Venom from this movie, and I think they could have shaped it up to be a much better film, but that was probably the studio interfering with Sam Raimi's vision, which is ultimately why we didn't get a Spider-Man 4. So that is kind of a shame. But like I said, at the end of the day, I do like this movie. I would prefer to watch this movie over The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I do think, like I said, this movie does have a beating heart. It's just, it's buried in a mess. But it is entertaining. It's never boring. For me, anyway. I was always engaged into it. And I'm going to give Spider-Man 3, am I being generous here? I might be being generous, but I'm going to give Spider-Man 3 3.5 out of 5 stars. I don't think it's bad. I do not think it's bad. I think there is enough good in this movie to give it a positive rating. So guys, comment your thoughts in the comment section. Do you plan, well, not really do you plan on seeing it, because you've probably already seen it. It's been out for 12 years now. So if you've seen Spider-Man 3, what are your thoughts about it? If you want to rank the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, you can feel free to do so. Give me your thoughts on Spider-Man 3 down below. Also, you can subscribe to this channel. My non-spoiler review for Spider-Man Far From Home is up on this channel now. Also, my new trailer reaction for the new Rian Johnson film, Knives Out, is up now. Also, a whole bunch of reviews coming in the future for Midsommar, Stuber, Crawl, The Lion King. Very excited about all that. Guys, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links to those are in the description of this video. And you can also follow me on Instagram, King Arises 131. And guys, that's been it. Thank you very much for watching my Quickie Wednesday review for Spider-Man 3. Over and out.
Get your Quickie on Wednesdays.